Hello, I'm Nick Crawley, and this is a chance to give a short introduction to the letter that Paul wrote to Titus. Now, I think it makes sense to understand that after Paul's appeal to Caesar had been heard and dismissed in Rome, that Paul then travelled not to the western end of the Mediterranean, but back into the eastern Mediterranean, or certainly around the Aegean Sea. And he started by going to Crete, where the church existed, but there was absolute chaos going on. And Paul, it seems, then heard that there was rather serious trouble going on in Ephesus, and so he writes the letter of 1 Timothy, commissioning Timothy to go to Ephesus and sort out that mess. And he himself goes north into Macedonia, but writes the letter that we have called the letter to Titus, commissioning Titus to sort out the mess in Crete. And there is something really delightfully simple about what is going on. It is a very, very young situation. The Christians are not certainly not well taught, and they're quite new as Christians. But nevertheless, it seems that there's an awful lot of them. Titus is commissioned to appoint elders and to challenge and silence the false teachers who were coming up with some really unhelpful and actually quite belligerent stuff, and they were clearly a problem there. So the first part of the letter is all about sorting out the church. The second part of the letter is all about how to live at home and how to relate to other people in the home. And the third part of the letter, it goes by chapters here in this case, the third chapter is all about how Christians should behave in the world and what we should do. So you have very simple structure: church, home, and the world. And the great theme that runs through this is that Christ is the Saviour. He has saved us out of chaos and an ungodly lifestyle and all kinds of things which are evil, and we must turn away from that lifestyle, and we must focus on doing good and living a godly life. And so the first chapter, as I've mentioned, is all about correcting things in church through appointing godly people to oversee the church and through countering and silencing false teaching. The second chapter is about how to relate to people, other people in the home, what it means to do good and to live a godly life at home. And the third chapter is about Christians in the world, and the great emphasis is on the importance of doing good. Let me read one or two verses here. I want you to stress these things, that those who have trusted in God may be careful to devote themselves to doing what is good. And then in summary he says, our people must learn to devote themselves to doing what is good. My wife was walking the dog recently in the park, and she got into a conversation with somebody who turned out, this woman said, well, I don't go to church, and she was in many ways quite sort of distant from Christianity. But she did say to Lucy, she said, you know, the one thing I have to say is that Christians, what I've noticed over the years, is that Christians do quietly get on with doing good in the community. And I was delighted to hear that when Lucy reported it back to and mentioned it back to me later. And that is precisely what Paul is saying we should do. And it's wonderful to hear somebody from outside the church saying that she had seen this happening. That is one of the last points that Paul makes in his letter to Titus. I think you'll really enjoy this book. It's got a lot to teach us.